Welcome to Bandit's Keep. I'm Daniel. So the other day I was talking to KR King of D&D Homebrew. We have a podcast together, Monsters and Treasure, and we were kind of talking about the idea, we talk about YouTube, and how some people are leaving YouTube and the sky is falling, and also the idea of people saying, well, I'm staying with YouTube, but I have to do these kind of videos to get this view or whatever. And it's interesting, and a dilemma to be in, really. As somebody who's in a creative field beyond this, I feel you. But at the same time, it makes me think of something else that I hear a bunch about D&D in general, often from dungeon masters, who I assume are a lot of the people watching this channel, which is I have to do a certain kind of game, or I have to play a certain kind of system, or I won't have any players. And I think in both cases, the answer really is that you should really do, as a creator, what you want to do, and you will find an audience. This is something that I've preached in my real job as a photographer and teach photography. And here, I think that if you're, I've talked about this before on my podcast about your players won't like this. You hear people say that all the time. My players wouldn't like that, even though I want to do it. Or we hear that I do this kind of video because it gets views, or I run this system because that's what everybody plays. And it's easy on some level to fall into that trap. When I first got into playing some of these more old school games, which is what I talk about a lot here, I didn't have a player base at all. And I was playing 5th edition. That's how I got back into the hobby, and I was enjoying it. I wasn't looking for a different kind of game. I wanted more games. So it took me a while. I joined Facebook groups where people were putting together one-shots. I went on Roll20. I went all those things. But being the outsider, who wants to play in your game, right? And what I found was actually eventually I joined other people's games, made friends, etc. Also, my 5e group was willing to try other games when I pitched it, and didn't just think, well, they love this game, so they won't want to try something else. And again, I can talk more about this here, but I've talked about it on my podcast. And it's called something like My Players Won't Like This, or I'll see if I can find a link. But anyways, the idea is that the overarching idea of this probably very short video is that we need to do what we want to do. If we are creators, and we are creators as dungeon masters, we need to think, what is the game that I want to run? And it can be very difficult, especially if you change what you want to do. If you are playing and you have a group and it's fantastic, and you're afraid that if you decide to run something else, they won't want to play, but yet you're not enjoying it. And it's a burden on some level on you to keep creating this content that just isn't what's in your mind. I think, again, you've got to take that step and say, I want to do something else. Now, you could do the safety net thing and try to start a second group to try these things, but know that it's going to take a long time. You have in front of you, I assume, your friends, right? I mean, aren't your friends the people you play with? And if you say to your friends, I want to try something else, why would they not want to, is kind of my thought. They might say, I love what we're doing. I don't want to stop this campaign, but sure, let's try a couple other, games to mess around with, do one-shots, play around. There's all different ways to approach it, but the idea of just not doing something, or doing something just because people want you to do it, is exactly how we as creators burn out and don't produce our best work. We become kind of middle of the road. I'm actually reading a book. It's called Flat. I wish I had looked at it. I just started reading it, but it's effectively about the algorithm, and it's kind of interesting, the algorithm. It's about algorithms and how the math works and everything. And it's really, in other words, it's not a book about how do you get more views. It's a book about the overall idea of algorithms. If you're into math, check it out. I'll try to find a link up to it. I'll put it in the thing. I got it from the library, so you can probably get it at your library. Anyways, I didn't buy it, is what I'm saying, so I don't have like an Amazon link, but I got it from the library. I'll put the link. Wow, that was a long side note to something different. But anyways, what it's talking about so far in this book is this idea how, in fact, the algorithm, as it would be, flattens culture, makes things boring because everybody's doing the same thing that will get the most hits, that will not be offensive or whatever, and it will rise up to this like neutrality, and then everybody kind of plays that neutral character. And you might play a neutral character, but neutral characters, at least the way most people play them, are boring. They don't take a side. They don't nothing's right or wrong to them. They basically are just going along, doing their thing. And if you might find that fun to play in a game, so I'm not telling you not to play that, but the reality is that people do have opinions, and fantasy and literature and all this stuff is about amplifying and pushing, right? So you might have a little bit of an idea in real life, but your character has a strong idea. There's times where you might say, wow, I'd love to do something about this, but I can't because my family, my job, whatever, whatever it is, your safety you don't want to give up, but your character can give up that safety, right? Your character will charge into the battle and defeat the evil wizard because that's the right thing to do. Even if in life, we might not be the first ones to charge through and fight an evil wizard if they showed up. What I'm trying to say here is that if you are a creator, whether you have a YouTube channel, if this is not aimed at people with YouTube channels, but, hey, if you're watching, or if you are a person who creates a world, creates adventures, creates any kind of gaming stuff, you need to create stuff that you love to create. And you need to then put it out there, and eventually the people that love that will find you. This is the beauty of today's world, where we can play online and we can reach out to all kinds of people. When you were living in that small town and there was only 7 people in the whole town that played D&D, yeah, it might have been harder. You can find people that want to play your very specific type of game, whether it be cozy, mystery, or it be dark and edgy, type stuff. You can find people to play that, and you should create something for yourself. Don't feel obligated. Don't feel, this is that forever DM thing too, right? Don't feel obligated to just keep creating stuff because people are saying, oh, well, we really like your game. Will we go into the dungeon and get the treasure and whatever? And if that's not what you want to create anymore, then don't create it. And if some people are only there for that, they may move on. But ideally, you're going to find your core group of players that want to play, want to expand, want to imagine together with you. And that's your group. That's your long-term group. And that's really the goal, at least I think, is to find that group that you can play with and play any game, and they're willing to try different things. And honestly, if they play something and they don't like it, they will tell you, and that's cool. And maybe that player sits out for 6 months or 2 months or however long it takes to play through this series of scenarios, and they come back again, or not. And I guess that's the thing. It's hard to let go of things we already have. We have a handful of players that we love playing with. We have viewers that are watching our channel. We have people that are buying our art or whatever. What we don't want to do is lose them. And sometimes we need to move forward. So if you're producing a certain kind of content for the group that you're playing with, or just to get players, and you don't love that content and you want to produce something else, my recommendation is produce something else. You'll find those people. And because I was asked to do this, so I'll mention it, if you join my Discord channel, I actually have a group channel in there looking for players, looking for GMs. So join the Discord. See who's in there that wants to play the games you want to play. Get together, play games. Anyways, I'll talk to you soon.